They will turn evil. 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 All right. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. This show has not gotten off to the best start in the world, but there's always hope that things can improve. Every episode review I do starts with the hope of me awarding 5 stars out of 5. However remote the chances. Let's see if this was the time by taking a look at the 3rd episode of Super Ninja Steel, Tough Love. We start with the villains this week as Madame Odious does a spell that creates a piece of music. She tells this giant walking cocktail umbrella, Spyclops, that if one of the Rangers sings every word of this song, they will turn evil. It's needlessly complicated in that classic Power Rangers fashion. I just found myself wishing that Odious had specifically targeted Levi, which is a point I'll get to a little later. After the credits, we see a young woman singing and playing guitar down by the docks, getting donations thrown into her guitar case. She catches the attention of Victor and Monty. Victor is smitten with her, and after giving her all of his pennies... What was he even doing out with pennies? He goes through this quick change routine, trying to figure out what she likes, which admittedly was a little bit funny. She basically tells him to get lost, but he swears that he'll get her attention. Man, he really is Gaston today. After this interruption, she starts singing I'll Be There, as far as I can tell that's the title, one of Levi's songs. Guess who just so happened to be walking by? Levi and the Rangers. Imagine that. Levi and the Rangers sounds like a band name. Anyway, he's impressed and decides to surprise her, walking up behind her and joining in on the song. The crowd around them is amazed and starts pulling up their phones. Alrighty, Ninja Steel. And by the way, when I'm talking to or about both seasons, I use the collective term Ninja Steel. You can't play this both ways. Levi has been walking around Summer Cove unrecognized for months now. He did so just last week. Now all of a sudden he's a celebrity again because it serves the plot. And don't get me wrong, it's not that he started singing and that's when people realized who this was. They started pulling out phones as soon as he started walking up to the girl. You know, I would actually like it if Levi was approached for an autograph every now and then outside of the plot of an episode, because that's what the reality would be. The girl, Jess, is a little bit overwhelmed at meeting one of her inspirations. She was singing country music, one of Levi's songs in particular, you'll notice, but that is a point I actually plan to bring up later. She's just really happy to meet Levi and says he even smells great. This is a somewhat weird and kind of creepy thing to say to someone you've literally just met, and it only really serves to give Victor and Monty their comedy subplot. You see, Victor decides that this girl must just really love the smell of cowboys, which gives Monty an idea. Dude, Levi is a high school student and a musician, not a rancher. It's probably just Stetson. Levi, in turn, is impressed with her and says that that song has never sounded so good. And you know what? He's right. I think this is something that I brought up before, but I'm always kind of surprised at how good Power Rangers actually is at coming up with original music. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's Mozart or anything. It's really simplistic bubblegum pop type music, but it's always really catchy and it just sounds good. This is broken up by a Basherbot attack. You might notice, by the way, that Odious has never even bothered with the weaker Kudabots. Levi gets Jess somewhere safe while the Rangers morph? No. No. Bad Rangers. Bad. Escalation. That's a foul. It's actually just to use up some Sentai footage that doesn't even seem to be related. Haven't we seen this fight in some other episode? It seems kind of familiar to me somehow. Anyway, Rangers 20 or so episodes into their season, or seasons, if you will, do not morph to fight grunts. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that they did give us a flash when the morphers appeared this time around. It's always actually pretty interesting to imagine the process of episode creation with this lag we have of when the episodes actually air. You can kind of imagine somebody looking at when they morphed in Moment of Truth at the beginning of the episode after that episode was edited and thinking about how bad that looked and deciding to fix that for this episode. The only thing really to note from the Ranger fight is that Calvin once again uses the Clone Star, aka the Kaku Ranger Star. Every time I see one of those two stars, the Kaku Ranger Star or the Hurricane Star, I'm reminded of how they completely avoided the connection to either the Alien Rangers or the Ninja Storm Rangers. But supposedly we have an anniversary episode coming up that's going to feature past Rangers. In the meantime, a single Basherbot from the group chases down Levi, or at least it seems that way. He gets ready to fight it, but Jess grabs a shovel and, well, bashes the Basherbot. She says she grew up in a tough neighborhood. The girl's good with a shovel? Maybe we should look into making her a ranger. The other Rangers show up and Levi says he has to go, but asks the girl to meet back up there at 4 o'clock. And the only real reason that I point out that it's 4 o'clock is that, honest to goodness, as I am filming this, it is right now 4 o'clock. She agrees. Levi levies. Jess looks around to make sure nobody can see her, and then she transforms into Spyclops. How unexpected! Except that it wasn't unexpected at all. You know why? Because they had already given this away. This entire scene, including Jess transforming into Spyclops, was the clip that Power Rangers chose to release as a tease for this week's episode. They gave away the twist. Now, some might argue that the target audience of the show aren't the ones looking for types of things like preview clips. But I have 3 responses to that. Number 1, yes, they are. Kids are getting on the internet younger and younger these days, and kids that are into Power Rangers are going to be looking for whatever Power Rangers content they can find, these preview clips included. Number 2, target audience. Why would you be advertising and teasing clips from an episode for anyone besides your target audience? That's what the target in target audience means. And number 3, besides all of that, why would you even do this to your adult audience? Leave a little bit of suspense. Levi and Jess go on their date, for lack of a better term. It seems like the two of them are just kind of wandering down the street. She drags him into a clothing store tent. Geez, I guess all the actual retail stores, brick and mortar, are in that mall down in Harwood County. Is Summer Cove in Harwood County? What was I talking about again? Oh, right. So Jess gives him a hat and basically convinces him to change his cowboy look into something a little more hip-hop. She asks him if he's ever heard that change is the spice of life. He says no, he hasn't, and that's because nobody has. Okay, I actually Googled this, and change is the spice of life is a saying that comes up every now and then, but it's dwarfed in popularity by the actual saying, variety is the spice of life. I didn't mind this as much as I thought I was going to, and I'll explain why I say that in just a moment, because the episode kind of plays that as a gag. We're going to see it again later. And by the way, when Jess does this to Levi, she's pressuring him to change who he is for her. But when Emma and Gia did it to Orion in Super Megaforce, they were just being friendly. She says that he can wear this new outfit while they're performing her new song. Yeah, she kind of jumped ahead from showing it to him to having him perform it, but he rolls with this anyway. She gives it to him, and of course it's the enchanted piece of music. They hug, and her eyes glow red. This was the clip that Nickelodeon teased the episode with, and it actually works a lot better. Yes, it still gives away that something is up with Jess, but it doesn't tell us what. I mean, maybe she's under a spell. If this was all we had gotten coming into the episode, we could believe that everything between the two of them at the beginning was legit, and just think that at some point Odious catches this girl and puts her under a spell. Power Rangers social media just killed the suspense of this story this week. The other Rangers are at the school training with their swords, kind of a 5-man battle royale style that I'm actually not all that fond of. They realize that Levi is 30 minutes late for training, but then he shows up decked out in his hip-hop outfit. He asks them if they got his text about singing with Jess, and Brody says that they did, which makes me wonder why they didn't know where he was. The Rangers wonder what's up with his new look, and Preston points out that half the lyrics in this song are just gibberish. Is this really what he wants for himself, or is this just what Jess wants? He asks them, what? Haven't you ever heard that change is the spice of life? No. See? The gag. Recurring gag. Very nice, very nice. He tells them off and says, well, they don't even need to come and see his performance then. Oh, burn. After Levi's, you see, recurring gag. I can do it too. Preston says that there was something in those gibberish lyrics that sounds familiar. Levi and Jess start performing the song, but the people who have gathered are not really fond of it. It's definitely not Levi's normal style, but you know what? Again, it's not really all that bad. Power Rangers original music coming through again. It's kind of an alternative rock number, a little bit darker than his usual style. The lyrics at the start are about power and strength and you can't withstand my might and etc. Back at the base, Preston is looking through a spell book that Mick brought him, not to be confused with a spell book that Vieira gave him, and finds the phrase that he recognized. It's part of something called a symmetrical spell. So it's a forward and backwards recitation that when completed will turn the person who said it evil. I'm not entirely sure why a forward and backward recitation would include the name of the spell in it for Preston to recognize, but anyway. Jess leads Levi into the second half of the song, into the gibberish part of it. He muddles his way through it and indeed is turned evil. By the by, the last phrase of the song, and they actually put this on the screen for everybody to see, is Ninpo Kinji. I only really bring this up because I feel like people would ask me about it if I didn't. Ninpo is more or less ninja magic. It's referenced on Ninja. And Kinji is the name of the Gold Ranger on Ninja. References on references. Before Jess can celebrate this, Victor and Monty swagger up, Victor decked out like a cowboy with his cowboy cologne, which of course stinks because this is Victor and Monty we're talking about. She turns into Cyclops and scares them off. Then the Rangers show up and Levi demands their power stars. They refuse, of course, and Haley asks Preston, "You're a magician, right?" "Do you not know this, Haley? Preston has used his magic on you!" Preston can reverse the spell, but he's going to have to recite the entire thing backwards. I find that kind of interesting in a spell where half of it is already backwards. Sarah realizes they're going to need the sheet music and makes the mistake of saying that out loud. Levi takes the sheet music and rips it into many pieces. Many pieces. Many pieces. Levi rips the music in half at least 5 times. Calvin tells the Rangers to keep Levi at bay while he goes and gathers up all the pieces of the sheet music. The many pieces of the sheet music that have now scattered into the wind. "You do that, Cal." We then get a mixture of some original footage and some Sentai footage that many of us were already expecting to see the second we saw Levi looking evil in the trailer for this season. However, the Sentai footage has a bit of a disconnect. In the Sentai Ninja, the Gold Ranger and the other Ranger seen here are more or less trying to kill each other. The Gold Ranger has been told that he needs to kill the other Rangers, and the other Rangers have realized they need to defend themselves with full force. However, this is Power Rangers and Levi is under mind control. So we have Haley and Preston saying things like, "I can distract him, we can't hurt him," while blasting at him with full force. Even Brody is taking full-on swings at his own brother. Sarah gets a solo fight with Cyclops, which only really more or less serves to hold them both out of the action. Calvin runs up to Sarah for some reason and tells her that he has gathered up all the pieces of the music, all of the many tiny little pieces of the music that has scattered to the far winds. They run up to the other Rangers and Calvin gives Preston the pieces of music to put back together. The 5 pieces of the sheet music. Okay, alright, sure, okay, sure, alright, Ninja Steel. Okay, fine, okay, good, alright, cool, alright, fine. Let's just move on. As we get a couple of shots of Levi in his ninja mask, which is pretty neat, Preston recites in 5 seconds a spell that it took Levi 2 minutes to sing, and everything Preston says is gibberish, despite this being a symmetrical spell, meaning that half of it would be legible whether it was read backwards or forwards. It works anyway, because magic, and Levi is cured. Spyclops retreats to her rock quarry and the Rangers get ready for battle, but she's able to jump into the air and blast them from above. Brody apparently forgets the fact that he's able to make a ninja kite and has Levi do a storm attack tornado, which he jumps into and slashes the monster in the sky, destroying it. She gets gigantified and the Rangers form their Megazords. Brody gets the ninja chainsaw sword as the Rangers assume show name mode, letting us get a look at Brody's version of the suit. Meh. Spyclops again takes to the sky, and this time Brody forgets that they have a Megazord formation that will let them fly, and instead he pulls the Astrozord star out of his ass, I'm assuming, I should say, that Mick made that for them off screen. Interestingly enough, they don't combine with the Astrozord this time, only using it as a kind of weapon to knock the monster back down to the ground. Instead, they form the Ninja Fusion Megazord. And yes, I do know what they call it on the show. And they're wrong, so I'm not going to use that name. Brody begins their final attack and gets the Ninja Shotgun, which is officially called the Ninja Super Steel Blaster, by the way, as he speaks its name into canon with no confusion this time. And by the by, this is something else on this show that uses Ninja Super Steel instead of Super Ninja Steel. So what is the Fusion Megazord's final attack? Master Slash. So Brody has traded in a sword for a shotgun and uses that shotgun to power a sword slash. This is the point where having the ninja chainsaw sword would have actually made sense. You can use that for slashing attacks and the shotgun for cannon attacks. But Power Rangers has hardly, if ever, been actually concerned with logic. Kaboom. We get the moral of the day in the wrap-up today, as Levi apologizes to the others and says that he shouldn't change who he is just to please someone else. This is actually another one of those kind of sticky morals when you start to think about it, because there are some changes, like losing weight or getting rid of bad habits, that can be motivated by your relationship with others and be positive changes in your life. But again, Power Rangers is talking to 4-year-olds here. Comedy wrap-up. Victor stinks because of his cowboy cologne and refuses to take a shower, despite being at a high school that very likely has gym showers. Why does their comedy so often involve something stinking? Is it because their comedy stinks? Oh snap, let's throw stars. Episode 3, Tough Love. Pros, Jess was well acted, variety in the Zord fight, and a nice character piece for Levi. Cons, a lack of nuance in the story, a strange disconnect between Jess and Spyclops, and social media blowing the surprise. The word that comes to mind is inoffensive. Tough Love gets 3 stars out of 5. Let's start things off by giving some credit to Becky McEwen, I think that's how you pronounce her name, the actress that played Jess. According to IMDb, this was only her 2nd role ever. Technically her 3rd. She has a short film listed, but it's only listed as completed, not as actually having aired anywhere. She did 26 episodes, so basically in every episode co-starring role on a New Zealand show called Filthy Rich. I thought she was really good in this episode, portraying a character that was slowly transformed as Spyclops wove her plan. First time we see Jess, she's innocent and kind of a fangirl, though there's even sort of a conniving edge to that because you notice she very quickly drops her interest in country music as she begins to manipulate Levi. The second time we see her, she's more manipulative, molding him into what she wants him to be as she starts to work her plan. The last time we see her, she's darker and, dare I say it, as weird as this is going to sound, kind of sultry. She's wearing a strapless top, she's swaying with this different music that she's playing. It was just a very different kind of a feel. The different characteristics throughout the episode bordered on feeling kind of inconsistent, but I think she balanced it well. This was a nice character piece for Levi as well. I've said this before, I think during Dino Supercharge, but one of the few nice things about splitting the story in two is that it gives the writers the chance and/or the desire to do more auxiliary ranger focus pieces. It was a very simple moral of the day type of a plot, but we got some nice character stuff from Levi. Doubting himself, trying to make himself believe in the changes that Jess had brought on, and I thought he even did a pretty good job playing an evil ranger. And the Zord fight was actually fairly interesting this week. It didn't feel as long as last week's one, but calling in the Astrozord just to use it as a weapon actually felt like a really nice touch. And I know that might just be the Sentai footage, but hey, they kept it in, right? And to be honest, I was half convinced that we weren't going to see the Ninja Fusion Megazord again, so that was a nice surprise. However, it just felt like there was kind of a lack of nuance in this story. There were subtle things that could have been mentioned that just weren't. The best way I can explain this is by giving my examples. Odious creates an enchanted piece of music to get one of the Rangers to turn evil. How about targeting the one that's an actual musician? A single Basher bot appears and attacks Levi and Jess, which would be a great way for Jess to convince Levi that she's not evil since, she was attacked, but it's never brought up. Jess sets to changing Levi's look, which could be a subtle way towards moving him to accepting this new style of music she wants him to sing. Once again, it's never really brought up. Now, obviously, I did infer all of these things, but since the show didn't bother to even throw in subtle mentions of them, I can't be sure if they were actually intentional or if it's just what I'm taking from the episode. And the strength of McEwen's performance, oddly enough, actually creates this kind of disconnect between Spyclops and Jess. At times, it didn't feel like they were the same character with the same plan. Jess is really sweet and innocent at first, but starts manipulating and changing Levi. However, that more comes off because she's genuinely attracted to him, which is actually something I think would have been really interesting, and to just give us a moral of the day rather than being a part of Spyclops' plan. And I'm not going to harp too much more on this because I already talked about it during the plot summary, but this episode would have been far more enjoyable if I didn't know everything about Jess right from the word go. It's bad enough when other sources spoil Power Rangers. It's even worse when Power Rangers spoils itself. These are supposed to be teases, not "this is what's happening this week, kids." In the end, I think I ended up feeling about this episode the way some people felt about last week's episode. It wasn't good by any means, but it was inoffensive. It was alright. It was not terrible. It did once again feel like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2 plot, something right out of Lord Zedd's playbook, and it had the same bits of sloppiness and inconsistency that I've practically come to expect from Ninja Steel, but they didn't stand out as strongly this week as they did other weeks. Alrighty, that is another episode in the books. Let's see if Super Ninja Steel can continue a surprisingly upward trend by taking a look at the 4th episode, Making Waves. When a monster threatens Summer Cove, the Rangers tap into the power of a brand new Megazord. A brand new Megazord, hey? We'll see about that one, won't we? But for now, that's going to do it for another Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. Thank you folks so much, as always, for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking the like button right down below. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode and of my review of it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to see all of my videos and ring that bell, get your notifications set up, so you get notified of whenever I post brand new videos just like this Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. And if you should happen to have really liked this review and want to toss a little bit of tip change in my tip jar, you can head over to digitaltipjar.com/OrangeRangerVid, and I appreciate anything that lands in that jar. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. This show has not gotten off to the best start in the world, but she tells him to get lost more or less, but he swears that he will get her attention. Oh, it's gonna be all 2 takes today. They started pulling out their phones as he was walking up to the girl. I mean, yeah. Victor decides that she must love the smell of cowboys, which gives Monty an idea. Dude, fart! She agrees. Levi leaves. Was the clip that Power Rangers released as the tease for this week's episode. They gave away the twist, but I said they gave away the twist, so. Power Rangers YouTube. Jess drags him into a clothing store. Shoot. Oh no, I was right. Dagnabbit. Calvin tells Brody gets the... Tune in next time. Yes, I know what they actually call it, and they're wrong, so I'm not using that name. Brody begins their final attack and gets the ninja shotgun. The second time we see her, she's more manipulative. The first time we see Jess, she's innocent and kind of a fangirl, though there's even a conniving hidden. Jess is really sweet and we'll see about that one, won't we? We'll see about that one, won't we?